Sony have lied to us and they've also tricked us. Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. That is the question of this video, because it would look like Sony, while they have walked back on the PSN requirement, have not walked back on the actual relisting of the game in the regions where it was removed after they tried to enforce the PSN requirement. Now, I gave them the benefit of the doubt in a recent video I uploaded to the channel where I said, hey, maybe this is coming next week and hopefully it is and it'll all be fine. But I'm starting to worry here because they managed to delist the games very fast. We're not too sure whether it was Sony or Valve that actually delisted the game from sale in the regions where PSN is not actually available to the customers. So, of course, if you didn't have PSN, you wouldn't be able to play the game effectively. The question is, though, why haven't they just turned this back on? Why hasn't it just been a flip of the switch and it's back for sale in the regions it was taken from? So this is a debate, isn't it? And it looks like Sony is, well, it looks like they could have possibly played us. Let's check this out. So this is the message from Johan. This was from yesterday over in the Discord server. And there's a response which says, is there any news about the 177 countries delisted issue? And he says, sorry, no, I'm speaking to our partners at PlayStation and Valve and pushing for it to be undone. Getting the account linking took a Herculean effort, but I won't rest in my desire to have it available everywhere. Now, the devs are working for this. The devs are pushing for this. The CEO himself is saying, look, Arrowhead want the game for sale in those regions. But why isn't the game for sale in those regions? It is quite shocking. So these are the regions where the game is not available for sale. Now, to give a very fast TLDR, in case you're not up to speed with everything that happened with PSN, essentially what happened is Sony said you need a PSN account. You need to link a PSN account to your Steam account to be able to play Helldivers 2 at a certain date. If you don't do this, then you won't be able to play Helldivers 2. Now, the game was for sale in every region on Steam, essentially globally. Some of those regions can't actually sign up for PSN accounts. So, if you're in a region that couldn't sign up for a PSN account, but you've been playing Helldivers for basically 3 months unaffected, and then Sony come in and say you need a PSN account, you physically cannot sign up to a PSN. You could have used a VPN to fake your location, but then that's grounds for Sony to ban you from the PSN network. So go figure. It just wouldn't work. So what Sony did is a couple of days, or I think it was about 30 hours later, I'll show you some info in a moment on that, they just said, okay, the game's not for sale in regions where there isn't a PSN. Okay, well, of course, we know the whole drama broke down, and Sony then backtracked and said, actually, no, PSN isn't a requirement. You guys can just carry on playing how you like. But crucially, they haven't reinstated the game in those regions just yet. So look at this tweet from Pirate Software. And now he breaks down what happens, but he actually gives timestamps here and evidence to show, you know, this is what happened. So he says, for those claiming these two actions were not associated and trying to community note me, Sony restricted sales at 2200 hours UTC on May the 4th and sent out the notice of walking back the PSN requirement at 0400 hours UTC on May the 6th. These actions were 30 hours apart. The wave of downvotes started on May the 3rd and continued until Sony announced the PSN requirement was dropped on May the 6th. You can review this in the package information and via Steam's customer review tool, and he links to all of the sources. So the situation is essentially this. PSN requirement is announced. Massive community backlash, tons of negative reviews. The image of PlayStation, the image of Helldivers is getting absolutely destroyed. Sony then delist the game for sale in regions that cannot sign up for a PSN. This is over 177 regions. I think it's over 150 countries around the world where the game would not be available for sale. If you bought the game, you wouldn't even be able to play it. This gives Valve a massive headache. They need to start issuing refunds, and the game gets delisted. Then, a few hours later, we get the whole, okay, actually we're backtracking, you don't need PSN as a requirement. But now that's been quite a while ago, hasn't it? And we still don't have the game reinstated for sale globally on Steam. So what's going on here? Has Sony tricked us? Have they actually managed to stop us negative review bombing the game? And actually, we've started positively reviewing the game once again. But actually, the game still isn't for sale in the regions where you can't sign up for a PSN account. Now, obviously, this hasn't helped Sony's ultimate goal of getting everybody onto PSN. But corporations, you know, they can play the long game. There is a potential that maybe down the line they start offering incentives for us to sign up to PSN. Maybe we get loot attached to it and things like that. People will sign up for that over time. And then they will ultimately get their PSN players. And does Sony actually care about PSN, you know, in regions where, well, there isn't a PSN? Probably not. This is bad, though. It needs to be reversed, and Sony need to sort this out. I'm hoping, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt still, but it is a giant corporation, so it is absolutely stupid of me to do that. But hopefully this gets sorted next week, because if it doesn't, well, I'm going to be asking questions, and I think a lot of people are going to be asking questions, and people are already asking questions about this, because it is very strange, isn't it? Why isn't the game, Sony, for sale in the regions where you delisted it after the PSN account link was enforced? Because those regions obviously can't sign up to PSN, so they couldn't fulfill it anyway. But why haven't you reinstated it? So let's talk about weapon balance, because, I mean, yeah, there's big problems here. So this is taken from Reddit, just because it does a very good job of side-by-side comparisons. And it asks the question, why does this weapon exist? Now, look at the Breaker Incendiary, look at the Breaker Spray and Pray. The Incendiary does more damage, and it's also got the fire effect, which has now been fixed, damage over time. It does a lot of damage. The Spray and Pray, why would you take this? Like, it is worse in every single way. Why would you take it? Because it's got 30 extra fire rate? I mean, no. This, though, is the worst offender of this. The Liberator and the Tenderizer. The Tenderizer, I still maintain, feels quite nice to use, but it's just not as good as the Liberator. The Liberator is better at what the Tenderizer does, and the Tenderizer is a new premium weapon. Look at the stats. It's literally worse in every single way. Capacity 45 against 35. It's just terrible, that feels. It needs more capacity. Recoil 15 to 10. Okay, it beats it on recoil. Fire rate 640 to 600. But it's got the same damage. It's meant to be a high caliber assault rifle. It doesn't feel high caliber. It feels almost pointless. It's crazy. This goes into the debate of, like, what are the devs doing? Are the devs actually looking at the numbers of the weapons and going, okay, this one should be better than that one? Or are they just going, like, just release it? We're not even testing what's going on. It honestly makes no sense. Maybe they're overworked. That could be the other element to this. But anyway, this is the worst one. So the Pommeler is insane. This SMG is insane because it's got the concussive effect, right? Now look at the Liberator concussive. It's an assault rifle that's meant to have the concussive effect. Now in the past, it's had explosive, so it did explosive damage. Now though, it does concussive. Look at the stats though. It is literally worse than the Pommeler in every single way. There is no world the assault rifle should be doing less damage than an SMG, surely, right? That is insane to me. Like, that is just, it's terrible. It's horrifically bad. Now this last one is the Adjudicator and the Liberator Penetrator. Now, they're armor piercing. The Adjudicator began life as a DMR. Now, it very quickly was not very good at that job, so they gave it fully auto mode, fully auto fire, I should say, and bumped it into the assault rifle category. Why would you use the Liberator Penetrator? Why would you use it when this weapon is better in every single way? Now, there's other weapons as well. We've seen this with energy-based weapons. The Sickle just being insanely better than every other energy weapon at the time, or there have been buffs and nerfs subsequently. But this is a debate, isn't it? It's a debate about the balance of the game. It's a debate about what is going on with weapon balance. Like, I don't care about things being finely tuned for some sort of stupid, perfect vision of this is the way everything should be, and this is you know, the weapons are all finely tuned. They've all got their own space. It's almost like PvP balance, right? I don't care about that. It's a PvE game. I want things to feel super powerful. Again, I will use this example. Imagine if the Tenderizer was the weapon from Starship Troopers. When you got this bad boy, we're literally annihilating bugs with it. We're blasting them away. We're ripping through Hive commanders, Hive guards with it, because maybe it's even got medium armor penetrating. It's just ridiculous, right? It's doing massive amounts of damage. It feels super powerful. That's offset, though, by a slightly smaller magazine. No one would care. And if it had an insane sound effect as well, no one would care. Part of the reason why I've been enjoying using the Pommeler is, yeah, it's got the stagger effect from concussive, which is great, but it sounds friggin' sick, and it fires like, I feel like I'm doing damage, like I'm doing work, and I think they're completely failing at this at the moment. And the Liberator is probably, well, the Liberator compared to the Tenderizer is probably the best example of that, and the Tenderizer just doesn't feel like it's tenderizing anything. You know, I mean, the name suggests it's destroying meat. It's not doing anything. So you've got to sort this out, Arrowhead. You've got to make your weapons feel more meaningful, because I think they nailed that in the early days of the game. But every update we've had so far, everything just feels limp, and that is not great. In fact, that's probably a fast track to just, well, people tuning out of your game. I do also have some updates about the actual Tenderizer. So the Tenderizer, if you were an eagle-eyed viewer enough, would have noticed that with the Polar Patriots warbond stuff, it should be black. Now, it wasn't black and grey. It was actually this color, which is, yeah, it's just like standard military camo color. But I've got good news, because a dev jumps in and says, yeah, this was a mistake. We've since fixed it. It's going to be updated eventually. I made the fix myself, so I know it's done, which is good news, because now at least it represents graphically what it should represent. Now, I'm hoping that what we get is a massive buff patch to all of these weapons. I'm sure we will, because Arrowhead have got to do something with them, make them more meaty. But yeah, maybe that'll come at some point. And then we've got a rather strange response from a couple of days ago from the Balance dev. Somebody says, thoughts on the new warbond coming this Thursday? And he says, good warbond, no bad weapons, everything S tier, and a thumbs up. And then there's obviously a bunch of reactions. Now, this could have just been a meme, a joke, a piss take, right? As we'd say in the UK. Or he could have legitimately believed this. Like, oh yeah, they're all really strong, they're super good weapons. If you use the plasma weapon from this warbond, you'll very quickly realise it's garbage. If you use the tenderizer, you'll be like, okay, it's fine, but it's not as good as a liberator. The starting weapon everybody gets, you know what I mean? The only weapon of use is the pummeler at the moment. So this is a inherently bad weapon warbond. I think the incendiary grenade's good, and I think the pummeler's fine. Everything else needs to be buffed. It's crap. So how would this dev even believe that to be true, that everything is S tier and awesome? Well, there is one sort of elephant in the room, and it's what difficulty is this dev playing the game on? I mean, if you're running around on like difficulty 3, 4, 5, yeah, everything does feel strong. But I mean, if you pump up the difficulties very quickly, you know, where's the power fantasy in these weapons? You don't have all day to stand there to charge up the plasma weapon and fire it. You're getting absolutely swamped by everything. It doesn't make any sense. So, again, and also they just don't feel fun to use, these weapons. So I don't know what's going on here. This could be signs of a deeper issue at Arrowhead, or it could just be a dev taking the piss, or it could just be, I don't know, someone just on a mad one. But it doesn't make any sense, does it? It is very weird. There was also this comment on Reddit, and this actually is quite interesting, and it's about the devs actually playtesting updates. It also carries 10 mags, but resupply boxes only give you 5. Clear-cut evidence that this gun is from a build that precedes their ammo rework, where they made it so every primary gets full ammo back from one resupply box, meaning they didn't even bother to test it recently. And then a user responds saying this needs to be higher up. So this is a complex issue, because this could be they are, again, heavily overworked, and they're trying to keep this cadence of every month we're dropping a new warbond, and this is leading to them putting the wrong version of weapons into the warbond, or they're not even testing what is going into the warbond to make sure that it is, you know, accurate and correct in the up-to-date versions, or they're just literally making warbonds so long ago that they're not going back and retroactively fixing them, which is an issue. And this leads me on to another issue. Are they making warbonds too fast? Again, this was prompted by Reddit, in which this post says, if this is the quality for monthly warbonds, they need to be less frequent. So let's take a step back here. What does Polar Patriots say to you? If you pull somebody in off the streets and go, okay, there's a game, and in the game, there's going to be an update, and there's going to be new weapons, and it's called Polar Patriots, what would you think? And you say, also, it's snow-themed, because it's polar. Well, you're thinking, right, there's going to be some sort of freeze weaponry. There's going to be maybe like an ice grenade. Maybe there's going to be some sort of like freeze laser ray or something. I don't know. But you're thinking freeze weapons. You're also thinking for the armor. The armor might have some sort of a buff against being cold. So maybe, you know, you get extra stamina on planets that have got cold, or you don't get affected by blizzards, or you can see through blizzards. That's what you would think. However, that's not the case, is it? In fact, it's not the case at all with this warbond. Why is that? Is it because the devs don't have enough time? Is it because they've literally got a list that they've made, which has got the names of all the warbonds, and they're trying to loosely sort of link to them while keeping the cadence really high so they can keep up with this one monthly drop of warbonds? I think, though, to be quite honest, guys, this warbond might be, you know, this might be the one that breaks their back, right? Because it is very clearly not that interesting. The other ones have been okay. They've all had suspect weapons, and it's been a meme for a while going, well, actually, there's only really one good weapon in a warbond. I think you can argue, yeah, there's a good weapon and maybe a grenade in the warbonds. I mean, the stun grenade, I think, was really good. The thermite grenade is not that great, although, to be fair, I've not used it since it's been fixed with the damage over time, but I still feel it might not be that good. The incendiary grenade, I think, is okay. The impact one from Polar. Again, it's the Polar warbond, and it's got an incendiary grenade. Like, in what world does that make sense? You know what I mean? It's crazy. So yeah, like they're a bit all over the place. It's not like every page of the warbond there's sick weapons that you want. Now, I get the devs don't want to put the best weapons in a paid warbond, But even using the mentality of everything being a side grade, you've still got to make them feel fun. You've got to make them feel awesome. Like I said, if the tenderizer was the weapon from Starship Troopers and it had like similar sound effects and muzzle flashes and the way it functioned and it had a good solid punch to it, I would use it. I would use it. I'd be like, this is sick. You know what I mean? Or there was cool mechanics on new weapons, like, I don't know, maybe you fire like sticky bombs and then you can detonate them. Like, imagine spraying like loads of little bomblets into a massive group of Terminids and then press an alternate fire and it detonates them. That'd be friggin' sick. Who even cares if it's not balanced or whatever? Even if it's weak, the fact that it's got a different mechanic would make it feel sick. And the list of this kind of thing goes on and on and on and on and on. And currently, these warbonds, well, at least the recent one, it's just kind of more of the same stuff and none of it is really exciting. I do think the Punisher is a good weapon, though, but is it really super exciting? It's okay. Oh, the Pummeler, I should say, not the Punisher. The Punisher's awesome. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening and watching the video. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments below. Again, I think this is going to be one of those really controversial topics for the game because weapon balance, whether you like it or not, it is integral to the game. But this isn't a PvP game. This isn't balanced to make everything fair. It's balanced to make things fun, and you cannot launch stuff into the game that isn't powerful, that feels crap, and doesn't feel fun to use because people won't use it, and there's only so many times you're going to be able to do that, and they just won't care about later additions and newer weapons being added to the game. Alright guys, thanks for watching. As I said, remember, if you did enjoy the video, do like the video, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel. It all helps the algo, and yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you soon.